everyone! In this video we're going to cover the basics of contouring and highlighting the face. This is going to be used pretty much in every makeup you do for the rest of the semester, so make sure you really practice both in class and at home the blending techniques that we're going to talk about today. Alright, so I've gone ahead and started by applying a nice moisturizing lotion to my face. I've given that a couple of minutes to set in, and then I applied my cream foundation, which you'll find in your kits. You have 3 different foundation colors, and they come in a variety of shades. 2 of them tend to have slightly different undertones. If you look, this one here is a little bit more of a rosy undertone, whereas this one here is a little bit more of a golden undertone. So some of you might find that you need to combine or mix 1 or more of your 2 of your foundations. If you're mixing 1, then you're just putting on 1. Some of you might find that you need to mix 2 of your foundations to match your skin tone accurately. So play around with the foundation colors at home, figure out what's going to work best for you. So I've gone ahead and applied a nice layer of cream foundation over my entire face, making sure that I cover my eyelids. And then I blend the makeup up into the hairline, back to the ears, and then down the neck as well. You want to make sure that when you apply stage makeup, you don't do it in a way that makes it look like you have a mask on when you step on stage. Alright, so to start off, we're going to use our character cream shadow. If you look on the back of your makeup pots, you'll see that everything is labeled. That might look backwards to you. So we're going to start with our character shadow. And I'm just going to pull a little bit of makeup out of the pot using the end of my brush. I want to make sure that I'm not going back into the pot with a contaminated brush after I've applied makeup to my face, because you're transferring bacteria into the makeup in a way that over a period of time it starts to grow the bacteria in the makeup itself. So make sure you're maximizing the longevity of your makeup and keeping it clean. So I'm going to use the back of my hand as my palette, and I'm going to take the makeup that I pulled from the pot and just roll it from the end of the brush in the back of my hand, and then I'm going to clean the end of my brush with a tissue, because I have a tendency to then go back and look for lines on my face with the end of the brush and end up drawing shadow on my face. Your kit comes with 2 different brushes. One has a slightly smaller width, one a bit wider. I like to use the wider one for the shadow and the thinner one for the highlight. And I'm just working the makeup into the brush. I think you can see. Let me raise it up here a little bit. I think you can see that. So that I maintain, see, I turn it 180 degrees. 180 degrees, so that I maintain the shape of the brush and it gives me a nice fine tip to create my lines with. Alright, so I'm going to start with my cheek shadow, and you're looking for the downward slope of the cheekbone. If you're looking dead onto the mirror, you can kind of see that natural shadow that's cast by your cheekbone. If you look right here to here, I think you'll find, girls, your cheekbones tend to be a little fuller on the sides and a little lower. Guys, you tend to have more forward protruding cheekbones, and they sit up a little higher. So I'm going to start with my character shadow on my brush, and I'm going to find that line just below the edge of my cheekbone, and I'm just going to pat in the general shape just to give myself a bit of a guideline. Alright, and since I'm right-handed, I like to start on the left-hand side of my face because it's a little easier for me to match for symmetry going back to my right side. Alright, so I've started with this line. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come back in with the character shadow, and I'm going to strengthen that line. This is why you need to wear a headband. And then I'm going to use my brush to pull the makeup down from that line, and I'm going to let the strength of the shadow live between my guidelines. Now, whenever you're creating shadow, if you're trying to make it look natural, you want to make sure that you give the shadow a faded edge so that you have some dark darks and some just medium darks. Alright, so once you get the shadow laid in, you can come back through with your, I'm just using the same sponge that I used to apply my foundation, and using short bouncing patting motions, I'm blending that makeup down. Not touching the top line yet because I'm going to apply highlight just above my shadow. Anywhere you have shadow on your face, the highlight needs to live next to it. That's what makes it look dimensional. I'm going to leave that line there so that when I go back and blend it into the highlight, I haven't completely blended down that line already. You want to be careful, especially with the shadow, that you're not over blending because it has a red base to it and it tends to make for a bit of a sunburnt, or it can look like a smudge on the face. So you want to make sure you're paying attention to the shape of the shadow that you're creating, but also controlling the blending, knowing that you need to go back and blend it into the highlight.
Get in my way. Everything that you say, you really set me free.
Okay, so once you get your cheeks contoured and you've matched as best you can symmetrically both sides of your face, go back and concentrate on your nose. You're going to start at the brow bone, making sure you're starting at the brow, and then come down the bridge of the nose. And make sure that as you come down the bridge of the nose, you're carrying that line all the way down the tip of the nose on the inside of the nostril. You want to be sure that you're not making this line go to the outside of the nostril, because that's going to make you look like you have a triangular nose as opposed to a nose bridge and then the folds of the nose. So if you're trying to create a thinner nose, or a broken nose, or even a broader nose for your character, you can create those effects by altering the shape of the shadow you put on the nose bridge. So if I wanted it to look wider, the shadows would come farther apart. If I wanted it to look thinner, they would come closer together. If I wanted it to be broken, I would maybe make a line that had a bit of a bump right here at the tip. It comes straight so that the middle of the nose looks like it's fuller and broken. So once you get your lines mapped out on your nose, you're going to come through and again pulling the makeup with the brush out toward the sides of the face. And if you find that you're having a difficult time blending with the brush, take the brush and wipe a bit of the makeup off. It's always easier to blend with a clean brush, because if it's full of makeup, then you're just putting more makeup on the face. So again, try and keep the line symmetrical. And if you have deeper set eyes, you can pull this shadow into the crease of the eye, just above on the eyelid. If you have not such a deep crease, then you want to make sure that you fade this line before you get to the eyelid crease, unless you're trying to create the effect of a deep set eye. Alright, so now I'm going to go through and shade the bottom of the nose, just the bottom. Make sure that you don't roll up onto the tip of the nose and create a line across the nose. You really just want to let that shadow live right between the nostrils. And then shade the crease of the nose where it meets the rest of the face. Pulling the makeup out with the tip of your brush. All right. So if you look at your book, you'll notice that when it comes to the temporal bones, the shape changes a little differently. If you're trying to thin the face, they indicate that the shadow starts here, right about the arch of the eyebrow up, and then it goes out into the temporal bone. It works for most face types, but if you're just focusing on contouring, then you really want to find the part of the temple on the side of the eye, and it usually connects right about to your eyebrows. So I've created a V shape that I'm then going to pull the makeup from the line up into the hairline.
I'm gone away. You see.
And this is really where it's important for you to find your bone structure and your face shape, because these shapes of the shadows might be different on your face because of your bone structure. So really play around with the makeup and find where your bones naturally lie, and then how you can manipulate the shape of your face given where you place your shadows and your highlights. Alright, so for guys, you're going to find the crease of your eye and the crease lies just underneath the brow bone. You can kind of find it if you press your makeup brush up into your eye socket. I think your eye creases are going to look much different than mine. But go ahead and shade your eyelid creases. Girls, if you're applying straight makeup over your contouring makeup, then you're going to accentuate the creases of your eyes with your powdered makeup. So you can skip this step. Alright, so if you're going for a thinner face, you want to come up underneath the chin and using your contouring techniques, find your chin line and bring the makeup from the edge of the chin up, so that I'm creating a darker shadow up underneath my chin line and contouring where my jaw and my neck meet. You can also come through and accentuate your chin here by giving yourself a little V just to the side of your chin. So if you're trying to create a more narrow chin, then bring that V in closer.